Alright, I'll come out and say it. We are headed down a very slippery slope that could lead to the death of emulation, ROMs, and seriously harm video game preservation. Okay, emulators and ROMs, the ability to download a software program that can emulate an old-school video game console and download digitally dumped ROMs of games that you can load into that emulator and experience games you may have never had the chance to play before. And I remember the very first time I ever experienced an emulator. It was electronics class in high school on one of the programming station computers. A friend of mine brought up this program and I was suddenly playing Super Mario Kart on a PC. I hadn't experienced that game since I played it all night, all day with my best friend in elementary school. I was a sophomore, I think, 2002, 2003, and the emulator was ZSNES, but at the time I didn't know it was an emulator. It just was this big, blue, full-screen, DOSy interface. ROMs of classic video games have become such a common staple in this community. Whether you play all your games digitally, or you're still like me and you have to have all the physical games and hardware, all of us can appreciate the benefits and the contributions that emulation and ROMs have given to our community, and what they've done to enhance the way that we experience those old school games now. And the chance to experience all those classic games from my childhood and build that nostalgia, it inspired me to reclaim my passion for video gaming, and I started collecting. But that might be an experience that becomes an old, tall tale from long ago if things continue down this dangerous path. To go back to the beginning, the recent beginnings of this, Nintendo filed a lawsuit against two major ROM websites. Serious business, we all know you don't mess with Nintendo. And they didn't push back. The sites got rid of anything Nintendo-related, ROMs included, and I believe one of the sites is actually completely wiped away. Now, these are not ROM websites that I have ever frequented, and I wasn't really informed about all this stuff that was going on until today, when I heard that EmuParadise, a site that I do use, was updating and making some changes. That change? The ROMs are gone. Not accessible. They knew dangerous times were coming for a publicly well-known website, and EmuParadise was my go-to site for emulation and ROMs. I don't even know how long I've been visiting the site. It was easy to use, it was safe, and it was filled with nearly every classic video game you can imagine. Obscure, rare, common, unknown, imports. Everything. And it's over. And after 18 years of service, databasing, preserving, archiving these amazing pieces of video game history, it's gone. But Dave, ROMs are illegal. Why do you care? You've got tons of physical video games. Not everybody is crazy like me, and how do you think I found out about a lot of these games? Emulation. Testing out vintage video games and realizing, oh man, I have got to add that to the collection. I want to have that experience. I've always used emulation as a way to play test video games, but there are so many other benefits, and I mean, a major one is digital archiving. Can we trust every single game development company to maintain digital archives of all these classic experiences? Are they going to care about them the same way that we do? Let alone all the prototype games that have been found that would have never, ever been released, thanks to these emulation and ROM communities. Our community, the gaming community. These games have seen the light of day and people have been able to experience them for the first time ever. I'm worried about the future of video game preservation. Sure, there are museums and people with massive collections that care about the history of video games, but not everyone can go to those people's houses and go to those museums and experience the games and play any game they want. Is it going to become this weird database that's not accessible by the public, and the only way you can experience the pre-cloud era of gaming is by finding a physical cartridge or disc? That sucks. And don't even get me started on importing. I mean, come on. ROM translations? I mean, it's the main way that I get a chance to experience Japanese language games in English, all thanks to the community. It all comes back to that community. Fan translations, allowing me the chance to experience what I never could have, making these games international that were always closed off from us. All right, I'm sorry, this is not your typical Game Dave experience. I'm gonna need like a fart joke or something here soon. Do you know what else ROMs do? They help protect valuable artifacts of gaming. You think somebody who happens to have the rare Earthbound Zero prototype on cartridge is going to want to just throw that in their front loader NES and play it all day? I don't think so. Well, maybe just once to test it and make sure it's legit. You got to protect that thing. Artifacts. Do you think I use that term on accident? No. It may seem silly to think of Mighty Final Fight as an artifact, but I see them this way. The community sees these games as artifacts. They matter. And the people who will eventually join this community are going to see these games the same way we do. They matter. They're important. But how can we share these games with a new generation without common access to them? EverDrives, what's going to happen there? I've been toying with the idea of picking up EverDrives. One cartridge to rule them all. And protect a lot of these valuable artifacts. There it is. Preserving the physical collection. I mean, you can only swap a cartridge so many times and clean those pins. I mean, there's only so many cotton swabs in the world, right? And I know the obvious response is, hey, once on the internet, always on the internet. There'll be a place to get that stuff. But is it going to be easy to access? Is it going to be safe to access? EmuParadise served that purpose for a very long time, and other sites like it, if they start disappearing, it's going to set a terrible precedent. The use of emulation with ROMs will become a super bad no, and the only way you'll be able to find them is by using seedy websites that will likely cripple your computer with such a terrible and horrible virus that no injection could possibly clear it. Get ready to format some hard drives, babe. We realize, whether or not we want to admit it, ROMs are not a legal gray area. It's very clear what is okay and what is not okay when it comes to downloading something to your computer that you do not own. But there's more to it in this community than I want to own everything and not have to pay for it. Cartridges, and especially disc-based games, are not going to last forever. They might outlast me with all this stress from this video, but they're not going to last forever. ROMs are the ultimate way of digital archiving. It's almost like a modern-day version of verbally passing down folk tales from generation to generation. And ultimately, it is not about copyright infringement or ownership. Once a video game is out there, we all own it. We each get to experience those games in unique ways and share those stories with others. And I am fearful for a world where those classic video game experiences are lost to time. Take care. And remember, as always, for as long as you can, stay digitally distracted.